Okay, now that that's out of the way. So imagine if you are faced with a major life-changing decision. We call it the blue pill, red pill test. You pick one of these pills, it will lead you to a life of wealth and prosperity, and you will meet someone who's a boy or girl of your dream, and have a very happy life after. And this is a test that a lot of people have taken before you, and a lot of people will take after you. So my question is, how would you go about preparing for this test? You will probably go around asking for help, or you'll probably do some research online. And you will probably want to gather a lot of data points about what people who have made this decision before, the people who have chosen the red pill, what happened to them? The people who have chosen the blue pill, what happened to those? And you'll probably come up with a statistical answer, a well-informed response to how to make the decision choosing between the red and the blue pill. But in reality, when a lot of the times when we make these life-changing major decisions, we don't really gather that many data points. A lot of times in life, we simply ask another group of people to help us make this decision. This group. Parents. Parents are involved in major life decisions of the vast majority of young people in China. Particularly decisions such as your education, your career, or your spouse. These life-changing decisions happen in different stages of life, some earlier, some later. The earlier decisions, such as education, would have a deeper and more profound effect, so-called butterfly effect, of your life. And how do parents do when they make these decisions, right? How do we know if parents are good at helping their children making these kind of decisions? Take education, for example. Just yesterday and the day before, China has just finished the national college entrance exam known as Gaokao. Okay. How many here have went through Gaokao before? A vast majority of you. Excellent. Did you pick your own major?
Yeah.
Independent, like who picked your own major without any input from your parents? Zero input from parents. Completely on your own. Okay. I'm very proud of you. Of those who raise your hand. A lot of the times it's a collective decision with parents, between the parents, the teacher, and the child. And I would say a lot of times it's just a decision purely by the parents because the child simply has no idea of what to choose. So how do parents do, right? How do parents do at making this decision for their kids? Well, a study done by the National College Board found this statistics. They asked the question, do you like your major for college students who are currently in school? Around 20% say they do. About 30% say, no, I don't like my major. Roughly half, 50%, say, I don't know. I don't know if I like my major. Ideally, in a perfect scenario, in a perfect world, where parents really understand the children and parents really understand what is best for them and what they like, the yes part should be at 100%. In a not so ideal world where parents do a so-so job, maybe we should be looking at 50-50. 50% say yes, 50% say no. But what we have here, this pie chart, is a lot worse. Half of the people don't even know if they like their major. What does that mean? It means they don't know what they want. They've already gone through Gaokao, they've gone through a few years of university education, and they still don't know if this was the right decision for them. And they probably wouldn't know until later, maybe much later in life, when they reflect back to the day of Gaokao, to the day the parents and them and the teachers sat together and fill out that form to pick that major and that university. By then I would say it's a little bit too late. Human decision-making process is interesting. If we reflect back on how we make some of these life-changing decisions, or how we make decisions in general, it's like picking out of a can of sodas, right? A few days ago, I was in my hometown of Wuhan, It was very hot and humid, and I went out to the shop and bought a bucket of beverages for my family. So obviously, I naturally picked out the ones that I thought were good options. I picked out water, I picked out Coca-Cola, I picked out Sprite, I picked out an orange soda and a cream soda. And I brought them over to my relatives and I said, what would you like to drink? And some people said water, some people said soda. When I asked them, well, which soda do you like? And they said, well, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. And I thought, but no, they're not all the same. Some of them are really sweet and some of them are a little bit, different flavor. Right? You must have a preference, but they don't. And then it dawned on me, my ability to pick these different flavors and my ability to see the difference between them comes from the fact that I've had a life of experiencing drinking different types of soda. I've had experience with these different types of sodas to develop a preference. What does that mean? It means that our ability to make decisions of seemingly similar things comes from our understanding of their differences. If we can perceive a difference between different options, then we can make an informed decision. Now, using that as an analogy for picking a major, we all know there's the sciences and there's the arts, right? 文科, 理科, right? Everybody knows 文科 and 理科. But do we know within 文科 the difference between literature, philosophy, history? Like, they all sound different, obviously. There are different courses in school, right? But do we know what it's like to major in one area? Spend 4 years of undergraduate studying it, maybe 2-3 years in graduate school, continue to study it, and then with that major on your resume, go look for a job with it. Do we know that whole process? What is that going to be like? I think very few people do. Similarly, if we're looking at a career choice, we know a job like engineering are people who build things, people who build this building, people who are building the buildings outside. And we know there are people who deal with numbers, banking, insurance, venture capital. These are all finance jobs. But do we know the difference between these finance jobs and where they end up? Do we know the average salary of someone working in banking, insurance, venture capital? Do we know where their career path will lead? Somebody who works in banking for 10-20 years versus someone who works in venture capital for 10-20 years. And another question would be, if you started your career in one of these areas, would you have an option to switch out of it if a few years later you figure out you don't actually enjoy a career in this industry? I think all of the answers to all of those questions will be no for the vast majority of people who are making this decision. If parents were really, really good at figuring out what their kids want, and parents were really good and responsible at helping their children complete the blue pill, red pill test of life, then they should be in picking an education for their kids, sending their kids to college campuses, to audit classes, to talk to upperclassmen who have completed a major in philosophy, history, or a different major of your child's choosing, and then go to the career center and figure out statistics on how do people who with these majors do in life after they graduate. What kind of jobs do they go on to take, and how much income do they make? But that's not how parents make a decision on education. What do they do instead? Can someone tell me what do parents do instead when they pick education for their kids? Okay, they could basically tell the kids to do what the parents wanted to do in the first place, right? Live vicariously through your children to have them complete your dreams that you couldn't complete in your life. Anything else? Salary level? Okay. That's actually not bad if you look at salary level because it's current information, right? It is very up to date and could be helpful. Anyone else? Reputation of the school and suits you. I think suiting you is the last thing they will look at. Most parents look at rankings. They look at, if you're in China, they look at, 985-211. If you're in abroad, they look at US ranking, UK ranking. They go down the list of ranking of the universities until they stop at a point. This is a school you can get into. With your grades, and your recommendation letters and your whole package, that's the school, the best possible school you can get into with your grades. And they talk to college consultants, they talk to your friends and family and upperclassmen to figure out that equation. What is the best possible school for you to attend? The major doesn't matter. It is much better, it's much more important that you get into the best possible school, and it matters less what you actually study there. Okay? That is the mentality of vast majority of Chinese parents when they pick this education for their kids. And you've probably realized by now that in making this type of decision, in using this type of a mentality to make life-changing decisions, be it education, career, or finding a spouse, you're forgetting the most important ingredient. And someone has shouted out earlier, fit. Right? There may be a million different types of jobs out there, but only a handful of them are good for you, are fit for you. Your personality, what you like. There may be millions of people out there who could be possible as a spouse, but only a handful of personality traits are the ones that would fit you and have a happy life with you. And what happens if over time you stick with a decision that is not a good fit? You reach a crisis. We've gone from, over the past, 5-10 years, from midlife crisis to quarter-life crisis. Okay? Because we are learning earlier and earlier onwards, because information has become more and more transparent. We've realized earlier in life that something is not fitting us. That a particular life-changing decision, very important decision that we've made, has not been the right decision. And why do we continue to listen to parents or others when we don't know how to choose? Well, when I look for answer on Zhihu a lot, which is the most popular Q&A forum in China, one particular answer with 24 million views begs the question, what are some common logics that parents use that are hard to accept? And the top answer says, where parents can win, they will use logic to argue with you. Where parents cannot win, they will use ethics. To what ethics is this person referring to? Well, it's the ethics of Confucius. Okay. In Confucian ethics, the idea of filial piety is one where we must be good to our parents. They divided it into 3 tiers. The best possible tier is treating your parents with the ultimate respect. Second level is to not be a disgrace to your parents. And the worst is simply being able to take care of your parents. So when your parents age and they're old, we're supposed to take care of them, which, as speaker earlier, has very graciously chosen to do. And at the second level, you should not be of a disgrace. You should not be doing things that are deemed improper, that your parents will feel embarrassed to tell their friends and neighbors about. And at best, you should honor their opinions. Their opinions matter. You should at least listen or heed their advice carefully. And that's the kind of burden that every single Chinese person bears. But these advice, or these rule of thumb, written by Confucius, is how many years old? How many years old would you think this is? At least a couple of thousands years old, right? A lot has changed since then. China is a very collective society, in contrast with the West, where it is much more individualistic. In general, we make decisions more collectively as a family, because up until only in recent years, people used to live in close quarters, under the same roof. Right? You would grow up living with your parents, you would get married and still live with your parents, you would have kids and still live with your parents. So all of these life-changing decisions, what your career would be or who you end up marrying, does in fact have a major impact on your parents' life because they live together. Right? And your lifestyle matters to them if you work late or come home late or have a lot of parties at home and be very social. But that has changed with modern technology and with the modern way of living. We have been enabled and empowered by technology to study at far distances, even abroad in different countries. We have been empowered to work in different cities, and we can even live in different cities away from our parents. And we can even live in the same city, but in different quarters because of a revolution in housing. And that has made it so that people are becoming much more individualistic. But at the same time though, we are still under a huge financial pressure because some of the most important, some of the major life spending, most expensive items that we purchase in life are financially supported by our parents. Buy an apartment, buying a house. Right? If you're financially dependent on your parents for the most expensive items that you buy in life, the most high-cost assets, right? How do you make decisions completely independent on your own and still have your parents be happy to contribute? That is a problem that each Chinese person has to deal with. Even though, under these circumstances, we want to be more free and more individualistic and more independent. So, how do we come back to the decision problem? How do we make better decisions? How do we make more informed decisions? To be able to tell the difference between different types of sodas that make up life. That's super important in our next, in the decision that will stick with us for the rest of our lives. In finding fit, my answer is, for education, to visit more universities and college campuses and audit the classes, talk to your upperclassmen, that figure out what will be the right fit for yourself. In career, to take on more internships, to get involved, get your feet dirty in the industries and the companies that you want to potentially work at full-time once you finish school. And you have 4 years of undergraduate, you have 2-3 years of graduate school, you have up to 7 years to make this happen, to figure out where you want to be. And for a spouse, dating. Dating people is not even a problem. It's not problematic if you have the goal of figuring out this is good for you. This will help you figure out who is the best fit person for you to start a family with. And the role of the parents, it should be shrinking. Parents should go from the dominant decision maker for your life-changing decisions down to an influencer who has a lot of say in how you decide on things, all the way down to an advisor. What is the role of an advisor? An advisor is someone who gives you all of the necessary information to make a decision, if not providing you with the resources so that you can go out and gather data to make those information available to yourself and be there for emotional support. Independence is something that we often think of in Chinese society that you don't truly get until you are married with kids. Okay. But that's too late. At the point where you're married with kids and that's the point where you start to make life-changing decisions by yourself, that's too late. Independence should be much earlier. I was fortunate enough that even though I was raised by my grandparents and later by very overprotective parents, I was given the opportunity to go to boarding school at the age of 15. And from that point onwards, it was really up to me to decide which college I wanted to go to, what I wanted to major in, and ultimately where I wanted to work and kickstart my career. Which enabled me to eventually figure out that I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. A high-risk taking move that would have been impossible if I had lived under the same roof as my parents and had them have the same kind of major impact on me in my early childhood. So in conclusion, I think I would urge everyone in this room to start making decisions for yourself, by yourself, as early as you can, starting from today. And I would urge anybody with children to start allowing your kids, no matter how young, right, even as toddlers, to make their own decisions. Ask them which one they want, and then have them live with the consequence of that decision, even if they are the wrong decisions and bad decisions. Because it's much better that you live and learn the consequence of a bad decision today than to wait 20 years down the line. Thank you.